You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
Let's go ahead and get into this Mike McCarthy thing right here, guys. And I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this at all because we just found out that Sean Payton will be leaving the Saints. And then we get this word right here. Report, Cowboys will keep coach Mike McCarthy for next season, even though they know that Sean Payton's out there. And one thing the Cowboys need, they need somebody to come in and change the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But we both believe Jerry's not going to get somebody that he can't control. And that's why you have a Mike McCarthy.
This gives us an opportunity to talk about the story that Mike Florio revealed about the fact that he actually had Sean Payton in place, but we'll get to that after we go through this story.
Okay.
Because believe it or not, an NBA player is the one that put the kibosh on that, which is crazy.
All right, let's read a little bit of this. Though there was plenty of speculation, Mike McCarthy isn't going anywhere. McCarthy has apparently been told that he'll return to coach the Dallas Cowboys next season, according to ESPN, USA Today's Jory Epstein and ESPN's Ed Werder. That comes just hours after defensive coordinator Dan Quinn told the team he will remain with the organization next season, despite widespread interest in him for a head job elsewhere in the league. And this is good news right here. I like that they're able to keep Dan Quinn. He did an excellent job turning that defense around. I just don't want him as a head coach. 6 teams with an opening asked permission to interview Quinn before he removed himself from all consideration. What teams in their right mind will want him as a head coach? Haven't they seen enough of this guy?
You know what's strange? Man, he might have gotten that Giants job.
Probably.
They were very very high on Dan Quinn after his interview. All we heard was Brian Daboll and Dan Quinn. That's like the top 2 contenders up there in New York. And Dan Quinn pulled his name out. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
He might have pulled his name out when he found out the Giants absolutely were not moving off of Daniel Jones next year. That's possible.
Good point. It's unclear if McCarthy will keep offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, as Moore is still interviewing for open jobs. I'm pretty sure if McCarthy, if the Cowboys lose Kellen Moore, I'm pretty sure McCarthy is probably going to be really happy because that's not his guy. That's a Jerry guy. And if Kellen Moore leaves, I believe that Mike McCarthy is going to feel like his job is even more secure because he doesn't have his successor already waiting. Because I believe that Kellen Moore is the heir apparent to Mike McCarthy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, McCarthy is kind of looking over his shoulder on his own team right now with his potential replacement being there. Frankly, he's got to look over his shoulder at Moore and at Dan Quinn because I honestly believe this is going to end with McCarthy getting fired in season at some point.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Unless the Cowboys have a regular season like they did this past season when they were pretty good, I don't see him going anywhere. And to tell you the truth, I'm not even sure if the Cowboys lose in the first round that season, I'm not sure that he will even get fired then. Now, this would be the worst case scenario here, and this is probably something really bad. Let's say the Cowboys end up going to the Super Bowl next season and they lose. Okay? You know that Mike McCarthy is going to be there after that. Because he got us to the Super Bowl. Yeah, but he couldn't get you over the edge. And I don't believe that Mike McCarthy is that guy that can really get you over the top unless you had an all-time great QB like an Aaron Rodgers who was able to overcome that.
That guy's not on the roster, by the way.
No. That's why I would much rather see the Cowboys lose in the first round than for them to lose in a Super Bowl, because it makes more sense to fire him losing in the first round rather than losing in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Speculation about McCarthy's future in Dallas grew after the Cowboys lost to the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC wildcard round earlier this month. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones declined to get into specifics regarding McCarthy's job security, but he said he was very, very frustrated and upset. Quote, "I've got a lot to think about regarding these coaches," Jones said on 105.3 The Fan. "I've got a lot to think about regarding scouts. I got a lot to think about regarding various aspects of the organization." Well, apparently you didn't do much thinking, because the Cowboys are still the same team they were last year at this point. Now, granted, it's only been a few weeks, but I said it, man. That coaching call at the end of the game was a fireable offense, and he still kept his job.
Dude, I would have cleared out Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy over that call.
Well, definitely Mike McCarthy should have been gone.
I'd have canned them both. I'm sorry. You can't, your offensive coordinator that can't even go through your brain at that moment in a real NFL game. I mean, their high school coaches wouldn't even have thought about it. They wouldn't even have considered that. That's crazy.
Worst play call in NFL history.
I absolutely think so.
And Sean Payton here. Then on Tuesday, New Orleans Saints coach Sean Payton stepped down after 16 seasons with the organization. Payton, a former Dallas assistant, has long been connected to the team and amid coaching searches, and perhaps more important, is a Jones favorite. While many thought Jones would try to make a play to finally get Payton, which I would have absolutely done, it's clear now, according to those media reports, that he's sticking with McCarthy for another year. Rose, this was a perfect opportunity here to give draft picks to the Saints to get a guy that we know is elite. And you don't go and do it. You keep this buffoon right here with the worst play call in NFL history.
Somebody, by the way, that Aaron Rodgers had no respect for whatsoever.
No.
As a future NFL Hall of Fame quarterback.
No.
He had no respect for Mike McCarthy.
And then at that, I would have fired him, because, wait a minute, you're going to go out there and blame the referees for your play call? Not take responsibility for that play call? I would have fired him for that. Because he took no responsibility.
He did not own it. Good coaches have to own their baggage. They have to get up there. They have to say, "Hey, at the time, I thought it was the appropriate call, but it didn't work out. We didn't execute it. But I made that call. It was my call to make. Blah blah blah."
No.
But he has to own the responsibility for the call.
Right.
Even if Kellen Moore made the play call, again, you have to chime in on the headset. You have to, if you got a timeout, you got to use it. Whatever you got to do, you've got. Well, and at that time they didn't have a timeout, but regardless, you got to chime in and say, "We're not calling that. We're not calling that. You're not running that. You've got to take a shot. The game must end on a shot to the end zone. It has to."
I remember Belichick. It was I don't remember if it was Monday Night Football, but it was definitely Patriots and the Colts. And you remember it was 4th and 2.
Yep, I remember.
And the Patriots were they're on their own 20-yard line or something.
Yep. Yeah,
they went for it. They went for it, and they didn't get it.
They didn't want Payton to get the ball back.
They didn't. I believe that's what Belichick said. He's like, we couldn't stop him, so we might as well just go for it on 4th down. We got Tom Brady, by the way. Didn't get it done. Now, of course, that was a regular season game, of course, but he owned it. He owned it. And I believe that was a good play call.
He had a good sound explanation why. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Mike McCarthy says, "Well, there's no reason we shouldn't have got the ball snapped." or the ball set or something like that. He said,
I got a real problem with him blaming the refs there.
Me too. A huge problem.
A huge problem with it. Yeah. Absolutely.
It says, while many thought Jones might try to make a play to finally get Payton, it's clear now, according to those media reports, that he's sticking with McCarthy for another year. McCarthy currently holds an 18-15 overall record with the Cowboys and led them to an NFC East title this past season. He hasn't won a playoff game in Dallas despite leading the NFL in points and yards gained in 2021. Well, they weren't going to make the playoffs last year when they lost Dak. That just wasn't going to happen. I mean, they didn't have a quarterback. You need a quarterback in this league. McCarthy struggled with clock manager issues throughout the season.
You know what? You know what? I'm going to push back on that a little bit. You had Andy Dalton as your backup in the worst division in the NFL.
And they suck, but the defense also stink too.
The defense stunk, but you should have remained competitive in that division with Andy Dalton. I'm just going to keep it.
But I knew, man. I knew that the Cowboys, when Dak went down with that ankle injury, I was like, that's a wrap. Because I didn't have that much confidence in Mike McCarthy anyway. And the defense stunk. Zeke was stinking it up. The only bright spot was Dak.
I mean, you just and actually even Dalton at times last year flashed, but you have to be. Taylor Heineke is in your division. Daniel Jones is in your division. And Carson Wentz was zero excuse like
for them. There's zero excuse for the Cowboys not winning that division that year. Zero excuses.
I mean, you're looking at last year. Do you really think Bill Belichick wouldn't have won that division with Andy Dalton? Because I do.
Yeah,
I think he'd have won it with Andy Dalton. I truly believe it.
Probably would.
Sean Payton went 9-8 with something called Trevor Siemian playing a bunch of games. 9-8.
He's a damn good coach, man.
Exactly. Elite head coaches win games. They figure it out.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.